if you've thought through what I've said in part 1, and you've just come to the realization that, yeah, I am doing the job of 2 and 3 and 4 people. If that's you, then here are a couple of tips, a couple of thoughts that I want to share with you about what you could do to take the pressure off. I'm calling these tips, it falls into an acronym, that's W.A.M D or W.A.M R. I'll tell you what the R and the D means towards the end. So the W in W.A.M stands for write it down. Write it down. You need to get some level of visibility into what you actually do. So sit down, whether you want to type it, whether you want to write it, and just write down all of the different things that you end up doing. Then I want you to analyze it. So that's the A in W.A.M. Analyze it. Do you see any patterns? Does what you do fall into any categories or maybe stages? Or maybe it's a matter of the audiences that are served. Find those categorizations. Find those patterns that kind of give rhyme and meaning to all the things that you are doing. Then I want you to identify how you move the needle, which actions cause you to move the needle. That's the M. And when I say move the needle, what do I mean? I mean, what is that core responsibility that allows you to make a significant contribution to your team? What is that core responsibility that really and truly you are the best qualified, the best equipped to do? That's what you want to make sure that you are focusing your energy and your attention on. Now, what do you do with the rest of the stuff? Okay, here comes the D or the R. The D part of or W.A.M D acronym means, is it possible for you to delegate the parts of the things that you do to someone else? Sometimes your team may have an executive assistant. Maybe you have a couple of interns or just other folks on the team, and you have that freedom where you could delegate these pieces to them so that you can focus on what is most important. The other part of this is the R, right? So we have W.A.M and then we have our R, recommend. If you're not in a situation where you could just simply delegate responsibilities to folks, because maybe you're not the manager, you just don't have that type of authority, but you know that something has to change because of how much you're doing and how it's beginning to affect you. Call a meeting with your manager and recommend a plan of action. You know, sometimes we sit there kind of waiting, hoping that they'll see that there is a problem and that they'll see that I'm overwhelmed and that they'll come with a plan. But sometimes they just don't for different reasons. You know, some of the reasons could be that they have their own stuff going on that they're trying to figure out how to manage. And so they're not hyper focused on you. And so sometimes it's just innocent. They just don't know. And we live in the real world. Sometimes folks are just like, listen, you take care of you. That's not my business. You figure it out. That's why we hired you. Go to your boss with a plan, right? And say, hey, here are the main things that I believe that I do that move the needle ahead for our team. I really want to make sure that I'm focusing most of my attention on that. Here are some other things that I believe that with some basic training and instruction that some other folks on our team or that maybe our executive assistant could help us with. Do you think that, could I get your thoughts on that? So our acronym, just for recap, if you find that you're doing the job of 3 people, is to first of all, write it down. What are all the things that you're actually responsible for? The second thing is let's analyze that. Take those skills that you have at analysis when you're analyzing problems out there and actually turn it onto your own challenge. How do these pieces fit together? Once you've analyzed it, then with the M, I want you to figure out what part of this, what responsibility in all of this is important for you to do to move the needle for your team, for your company, for your own career. And then identify the other pieces that maybe could be delegated to someone else. If you're not in a position to delegate stuff because you're not the boss, you're not the manager, you're not the supervisor, then take that initiative, come up with a plan, and call a meeting with your manager. There you have it. W.A.M D, W.A.M D, or W.A.M R, depending on what situation you're in. I hope you found that to be helpful. Now, the fact is that your life is more than work. And for many of us, sometimes work has the tendency, or we have the tendency to allow work to take over. And that becomes the center of our lives, and it shouldn't be. Your life is much more than work. So if you find that you are spending a lot of time at work doing the job of 3 people, then I hope that you will take these thoughts, these tips into mind as you try to really create a little bit more of a balance so that you can just do your job and go home. Thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you. If you like this video, I need for you to put some action behind that and literally click like. And I know that perhaps you've walked through what I'm talking about, or maybe you know someone who has. Sharing is caring. Please share this video with someone. And if you're new to my channel, or if you just listen but you've never really subscribed, please take the time and subscribe right now. Again, my name is Deborah, and it's been such a pleasure talking with you. Have a great work week.